right, guys, we are back. This is a Built by Vitality podcast. My name is Steve Pinkerton, and I'm sitting with
Philip Lewis.
And we have Joe Martino on today.
Special guest.
Yes.
And what I told Philip was he's actually applying. He's the first applicant to take over Philip's job.
That's fine.
When Philip has to eat the liver.
Oh, my gosh.
Doesn't make it through. Joe's going to be his replacement. Today's episode, we're going to talk to Joe. Joe, how long have you been coming to Vitality?
12, 13 years.
Okay. We're going to talk to Joe because he's the godfather, one of the godfathers of Vitality. And he's had an interesting story because when he first came to us, he had a ton of back issues. We're going to walk through what the advice of his doctors were. Now he's doing some PT. He actually went out and ran a mile with Philip. We're going to talk about that experience.
I think it was more than a mile.
Yeah,
it was more than a mile.
Yeah, it was
about two.
There you go. And I think this will be hopefully eye-opening to people that are sitting at home in pain and are being told that there's no solution for it. I think that there's got to be some acceptance that what we're asking, what you're going to have to do is probably not going to be comfortable for a little while. It's going to take a lot of effort, and I think Joe would probably agree that as he's going through this, there's been a lot of times where he's been super sore and he's had a lot of outs to be able to quit and not do this, and he's stuck with it for almost 13 years. But before we get into that, Joe's a pharmacist, and you are a pharmacist at a Walmart.
Yeah.
Will you share a story that I heard? I don't know. I think Philip's heard it too.
Oh, man.
You always hear of some crazy stuff going on at some of these stores. Will you talk to me about one of the recent days that you had an encounter with someone at the entrance of Walmart and what happened?
Oh, so the store that I operate or work in is downtown Charlotte, and there are, I guess, for lack of a better term, some vagrants that roam the neighborhood. And one of them decided that it was too far to walk to the bathroom and decided to stop in the entrance and relieve herself.
And you have a code for that, right?
Yeah, code brown now.
Code brown. That's right, code brown.
So it wasn't number one. It was a number two. And then when they asked the person, why are you here? She said it was just too far to walk to the bathroom.
That's when the body hardening comes into play.
Right. That was the first thing I thought of.
Man.
So I must admit, it was the first time for me there, but not the first time for that store.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Really,
just when you think you're having one of those days, I heard that and I was like, well, my days, pretty good.
I told Joe, I said, man, could you imagine Steve's face if you walked in one morning and somebody was doing a number two right in the front lobby at the grind? What would you like?
I'd end up in jail. I'd end up in jail and on the 5 o'clock news. It wouldn't go well.
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking about people walking past that and thinking, like, what the heck's going on here?
What's going on?
This is like a movie.
Just come in and do some grocery shopping. And
So Joe, needless to say, he's got some spice in his life. So, but 13 years as a pharmacist, I want to get into that too because that's an interesting. You see this from a completely different angle. We won't get into the politics of the pandemic and the vaccines and all that stuff, but you're on the front lines of seeing this and seeing from a different angle than most. So, how did you first come to Vitality? Was it Mike?
Very interesting story. So Mike K is my neighbor, or I moved from there now, but he was my neighbor at the time. And we were at a barbecue, or as they call it out down here, cookout, and sitting around the table, having a few beers and some barbecue. And he said, "Oh, I heard about this new gym I'm talking about seeing and going to go get involved." So I said, "Oh, really?" So I said, "Oh, maybe I'd be interested." And at the time, I was 330, 340, and he looked at me like, okay, yeah, he's going to get involved. But all right. He said, yep, I'll hook you up. You go talk to Steve. And so he started. And then about a month after that, I went down and sat with Steve had the little interview on the ball. He's sitting there on the ball.
I did have that ball.
And looking at me over at the table and saying, "Why do you want to come here?" And I kind of leaned back and said, "Well, it's kind of obvious I need to do something." And at that time, concurrently, I went to the doctor. I just moved down here. I went to the doctor, and diabetes started to hit. So I was feeling like doo-doo, and went to the doctor and said, you got to do something because this is just getting out of control. And I went to the doctor a year before that, no signs of diabetes. A year and a half later, went to the doctor, and he said, well, you got to start watching your A1C is going up, sugar level is going up. And that combination of all that and turning 50-ish made a choice to do something about it. Came to Vitality. And I've told you this more than once. I've never stuck with a gym for any length of time. So that looking over at me and saying, what the heck are you doing here? Must have did something. So that's kind of how I ended up here. And did PT for a little bit. And
What was the first couple years like? I guess for you, did you because what was the back issues that we started to have with your vertebrae? They had talked about fusing some vertebrae together. What was going on with your back at that time?
So when I arrived, I was, like I said, 330, 340, and always contributed any back pain or back issues just to being heavy. Couldn't bend over, again, figuring it was just because of my weight. So started to exercise, started to drop weight. So got under 300 pounds, and my back still was hurting. And I felt better, but I was still hurting. And I thought I had a true back issue, and because I had pain in the lower back. Went to the chiropractor, and he says, well, let's take a look, thinking it was back. So he's trying to manipulating my back and all that. That didn't work. I said, let's get some x-rays and see what the heck's going on. And what I had at the time, they thought was ankylosing spondylitis, which is basically a fusing of the calcification of all the joints. Mm-hmm. So very stiff. All joints are very stiff. So then it kind of led, I realized that the back pain really wasn't related to the weight. It's more related to what this osteoporosis kind of issue was going on. And then kept losing weight and then realized that I had to do more flexibility than weight training, that kind of thing. So I was never really into the bulking and, lifting heavy weights. I kind of always thought that was a little bit behind me, even though I did set some goals to lift certain things.
Yeah. What's interesting is when you talk about mobility and flexibility, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with because they're not realistic with, I guess they're just not realistic with what needs to happen, where you've always been somebody that looks at things a little bit differently, and you're somebody that just sees things a little more clearly than some people do, I guess. You focused a ton on flexibility and mobility, and most people avoid that because it doesn't give them any immediate ROI. It doesn't, they don't get super sore from it. They don't burn a ton of calories from it. So, whatever wearable that they've got, they're not, they're not winning that. Their body composition isn't changing a ton. So you see people that just, they need to get their mobility fixed and their flexibility fixed, but they find themselves doing other things that aren't going to get them anywhere near what their goals are, but then they're skipping these things that they should be working on. And you've always been good at, man, we spent a ton of time on mobility. I remember, some of the issues that you've had just getting down and up, and it's hard because you look at it now and it's still, I'm sure that's still something that you struggle with at times, but compared to what it was 13 years ago, because you went through you came in 340, 350, you dropped under 300 pounds. But then you started getting some back issues along the way that didn't have to do with weight, but it really limited what you were able to do. And you almost stopped. I remember you came in and said, man, my doctor thinks I should stop coming because they think I'm going to do more damage to my spine. And I remember talking to you, and I said, gosh, I don't know. I'm certainly not a doctor, and I'm not telling you what to do, but it doesn't make sense to me that taking activity away is going to fix this, when maybe we just have to be a little more careful with what we're doing. And so someone said that. Someone said, hey, you need to stop doing this because...
Right. So I had a hip issue, and one of the remedies was to get an injection. And at that time, we discussed kind of what therapies to do and what not to do. And his first suggestion was to limit my activity at the gym, which it's just ain't going to happen. I'm going to go. You got to figure a way for me to be able to go. So that was number one. Number two is he gave me the shot in the hip, which worked. And then his prescription for that was to come back every 6 months to get another one. I said, no, that's not what I'm here for. I want to get well so I can get back to the gym and do what I'm doing there to get well there. And then the other thing to maintain the pain, which being a pharmacist, I'm totally resistant to start with, but he just wanted to push opioids. He wanted me to take Vicodin. He says, I write your prescription right now for Vicodin. I said, what's that going to do? I said, it's just going to mask the pain. It ain't solving my problem. I need to solve the problem. I want to know what's going on in there. And really what was going on in there is this calcification of the joint. And then stretching, I overstretched it and bashed a piece of the calcium in the joint, freed some of it up. It was in the joint, so it kind of had to work its way out. But the medical thing it really turned me off to go to the doctor about this issue. So I ended up getting back, being able mobile again, and then realizing what limitations I had to do so that I wouldn't overstretch the joint to cause the issue again. And since then, I haven't done that. I mean, I'm sore as heck all the time, but the joints are sore. But I know that when I do a squat or anything like that, there's just a certain limitation so that I don't hit the joint capsules, and knock some calcium free. Yeah, because there's calcium everywhere. I mean, one of the things and I didn't realize it at the time, but I went to the podiatrist, and he's feeling my Achilles heel. And he says, man, this is awful calcification on there. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I can feel on your Achilles tendon. It's calcified. I said, really? And that was when I started, because I thought I was having foot issues too. He says, no, it's just got calcium back there. So that was kind of all the start of this whole realizing it's really a calcium deposit issue versus anything else going on. And that's so, if you feel that tendon, it's lumpy. It should be smooth, and in my case, it's not. Huh. So there's lots of indications of what's going on.
And it's crazy because I bet you there's a lot of people sitting at home that started a gym program, that started a fitness program, and had some issues come up. Because here's the other thing, that people will start something. Well, it's not necessarily the program that's dangerous. Your body's now having to adapt from not doing a whole lot to doing something that's not used to. And there's going to be some bumps and kind of roadblocks along the way. It's not going to be this very singular, simple, straight line forward to, I started the gym. A year from now, I'm going to have all my goals and I'm going to be great. If that was the case, we wouldn't look around and have some of the issues we're having today. But then on top of this, you compound that problem with Joe goes to a doctor, and that doctor says, well, here, have some pain pills, and I'll give you a shot every 6 months. And here's the reality. He probably would have felt dang good.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. He's popping Vicodin. Yeah. He's getting a shot. Of course,
Vicodin don't make you feel bad.
No. But and here's the other thing that I really think is smart with Joe. Joe's the guy that you hope your wife doesn't follow on Facebook. And here's why. Joe's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I make it out to dinner one time in a month.
That's right.
Joe, he's He's going to different breweries and cool spots and restaurants. All these cool.
Just got back from Florida, right?
Yeah, Miami Beach, South Beach, boy.
There he
to
is.
Muscle Beach.
He's going to
and
Muscle Beach.
Yeah.
And he's doing all this, and I think that I won't speak for him. I'll let him talk about this, but I think a lot of what the success that Joe's had is it's allowed him to do some of the things that he can do now and sustain his current level of fitness. Where if you take that out, the lifestyle that Joe lives, not that he's unhealthy, but he travels a lot. He's a connoisseur of breweries.
That's right.
He knows his beers.
Yes.
He's somebody that if you take this out, maybe he would be back to 340 or 350 or whatever it is. So I think this for Joe is this provides a different outlet in addition to the mental part of it, but it also allows him to get out and do these things.
It'd be harder to travel.
And feel good about,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to have some fun because I've been consistent for 13 years at the gym.
So coming here, when I walk in the door, there's a lot of days that I say, oh, what the heck am I doing here? Like, had they lassoed me into coming back today. But after I get going and you do the workout, I feel so much better at the other end. Yeah, I'm sore. Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm saying, oh, my God. But after that, you get past the post-workout, you need to rest a little bit because I'm over 25. The rest of the day is just easy. And the next day, like, it's a different person that woke up the day. So, I mean, it's definitely and I just said this to Phil the other day. I was working at my daughter's house, and I had to do some work where I had to squat for an extended period of time. And prior to this, just 3-4 months ago, I'd have to stop 10 times to do that same activity. So it's just a matter of getting in the routine and get past the hesitation. To me, it's there's plenty of times I could have turned around and said, just get me out of here. I had enough.
Yeah.
Woke up, my body hurt so bad. But you just get up and do it again. And by the end of the workout, I feel so much better than when I started. I mean, this morning, my leg was killing me for no apparent reason. But get on the bike, get it moving, get it kind of loose and juicy, and next thing you know,
take your mind off of it, make your arms hurt instead.
Right.
I think there's a lot to be said about just being disciplined too, and we've gotten away from.
You about discipline?
I know it's hard to believe, but I think that the majority of people's problems can be fixed with a little bit of discipline, and the reality is we're inherently lazy. We joke around a lot about. I tell Philip that, man, I think I'm a pretty disciplined person, but I still find myself with those lazy tendencies, the thoughts that creep through my head, just like everybody else. I just won't ever feed that because I know if I feed them, man, it's just like anybody else. You, on the other hand, you get this, and you didn't used to train at 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's hard for people, especially later on. How old are you, Joe? 60, 59, 60?
63.
63. So it's hard for people later on. You're pretty set in your ways. I think if I talked to Bobby Joe, Joe's wife, she'd probably tell me that Joe is pretty set in his ways. For someone like Joe to say, you know what, I'm going to add some personal training in here, and you know what, I'm going to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning. It warms my heart because that means Philip's got to be here at like 5:30, right. Yep. And it makes me so happy.
No, 5:59.
5:59.
Yeah. So let me just. So what happens is I've been here for a long time, right, and got into a slump. Admittedly, I was down to almost 2 days a week, miss a week, 2 days a week. And I came to you one day and I said, I got to do something different. My blood sugar was going up in the air. And I said, I think I'm going to have to commit to come in at 6 because my work schedule is just so bizarre. I just can't, there's no other way to do it but come in at 6. And I said to you, I think I'm going to have to come at 6. And I turned to my wife and said, listen to me, I have no choice. I either have to go back to the gym or quit the gym, but I got to do it at 6 before I go to work. But she said, you're going to be exhausted. You're working a 12-hour day. I said, I'll make it through the day, but if I don't do it, the downside, I started gaining weight again. My blood sugar was going haywire. Mobility went out the window. So, I mean, just committing back to getting into it. And I just said to her the other day, I think I'm back on the CrossFit bandwagon again. I mean, got off it for a little bit, or 1 foot off, 1 foot on. And you just got to do it. I mean, you know, I'm not no Slim Jim, okay? But I go to the doctor every day, you know, once a year. Blood pressure's never been an issue. I thought I was having some cardiac issues. I think I remember telling you this. Went to the cardiologist because my family history is so horrible. Brother died of it, father died of it, mother died of all heart-related issues. So I go to the cardiologist. He says, well, what are you doing here? I said, well, these 3 people just passed away from this in the last 5 to 10 years. And I think from the family tree, I should have some problems. He says, well, we'll find out. Threw me on the treadmill, you know, and with the EKG and all the other junk they do. And 5 days later, he calls me and says, well, there's nothing going on. He said, first he took my blood pressure and says, what the hell you doing here? It was 117 over 75 or something like this, right? So he says, well, why are you here? And I told him, and then he throws me on the treadmill. And then I get the report later, and he tells me to come in. He says, well, there's nothing happening. So I said, but I've been this size my whole life. He says, well, there's nothing happening. I don't know what to tell you. You want me to make a problem happen? There's nothing, you know, like everything's working okay in there. You know, there's no damage. You know, everything's beaten the way it's supposed to be. And so there's some merit in just staying active and keeping active. Now, I know if I didn't do that 12 or 13 years ago when I came here, I wouldn't be where I am or feel the way I do now. So there's definitely just some merit in getting your butt off the couch and just move. Do something, anything.
And the other thing that keeps people from being consistent is they find things they can't do. They get frustrated with it, and they can't do what everybody else is doing. Well, let me tell you something. Joe comes in. He's been doing this so long. He doesn't ask me or ask the coaches what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's going to scale. He knows what he can and can't do, and he's good with it. He's not trying to set world records in here. He's just trying to survive an hour of working out. And I think that discipline part of it is what keeps people that don't chase things that don't make sense. It doesn't make sense for Joe to come in here and try to PR his deadlift and try to keep up with someone that's 20 years younger than him deadlifting. He just figures out, hey, this is what I want to be good at. And then when he started doing, so the PT was interesting because initially we had talked to Mike to get some PT. And I remember I walked out of my office one morning and I looked down and Philip was down there with Mike. And then I saw Joe. And I said, what's Joe doing in there? That's cool. And it just kind of happened. And then all of a sudden, you know, the schedule didn't work out with Mike. So Mike kind of transitioned back to classes and Joe just kind of transitioned into this PT thing. And it worked. It seems to be working really well because when's the last time you've ran 2 miles?
Yeah, I did. That was a while ago.
Yeah, so
I did that Highland Creek thing. They did the creek, run the creek.
Run the creek.
Yeah, so I did that a while ago, probably 10 years ago.
So Philip came in and said, I think I'm going to have Joe run a mile.
I said, I think I'm going to have Joe run to the interstate and back with me.
Right. I said, that's not a mile. That's longer than a mile.
It's longer than a mile. I told Joe, he said, what? We're going where? I said, yeah, man, we'll just break whenever you want. We'll pick up running again. We went all the way there and back, past the gas station, everything.
So here's the kicker. We were going there and back, right? But wait a minute. We're going to go to the woods.
Poplar Woods. So we went, we started from the EvoFit side all the way to the interstate. And on the way down the hill, I said, Joe, we're not going in the entrance. We can go down into the neighborhood to finish this thing.
It
was good.
Oh, man, that's nice.
I didn't tell him until we got near the entrance.
Right, yeah. Wow. Well, it was all mostly downhill, so that wasn't too bad.
It was coming back.
I made the turn and you two were jogging. Hey, Joe, you look great. Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And I think that's cool when you get milestones like that, you know, again, if you're not consistent, I don't think you're going out there running 2 miles at any point.
Well, at one point, hopefully sometime soon I'll run it again, and I won't have to stop 4,000 times along the way.
Yeah.
It's coming. I mean, I feel the difference. I feel the difference on the bike. I mean, it's just a matter of being consistent about what we do.
Can Bobby Joe see the difference and notice the difference of working out versus not working out?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it around. I see it around the house. I mean, it's stuff that I got to do and stuff. It's not as tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it helps you at work, right?
Yeah. Well,
You stand all day at
12
work.
hours. Yeah. I get 20-minute break in the middle of the day. Sit down.
Doesn't make sense to me.
8 to 8 or 9 to 8, depending, but 20 minutes in the middle. That's if someone doesn't interrupt you with some emergency.
During the 20-minute break.
They couldn't schedule their day to come pick their prescription up before that.
So what I need you to talk to me about, Joe, I was accused of having a little midlife crisis this last couple of weeks ago. I started doing jiu-jitsu about, 6 weeks ago. And then I started riding motorcycles.
Yeah, I heard that.
There's some concerned people in the Pinkerton household. How long you been riding your Harley?
It's not a Harley, by the way.
What is? Oh, it's a BMW.
No.
What is it?
No, Victory Vision.
Okay.
So it's the other American bike that's no longer being made.
Okay.
But
how would you describe?
So it was basically a midlife crisis at 50. I got it from,
okay. Here we go. All right, continue, Joe.
So the wife bought me a class, the safety class for Christmas.
Okay.
And said, if you're thinking about doing this motorcycle deal, you got to take the class. So I took the class and just cemented the deal, went out and bought a bike, 2 weeks after that. And
how long ago was that?
15 years ago.
15 years ago. Would you agree that based on where you decide to ride, it can be somewhat of a safe hobby?
It's absolutely safe. Where it's not safe is usually around town here. Like this local stuff is the problem. You get out on the open road, is really not much to worry about.
Yeah.
Except deer every once in a while.
Yeah.
Which I've taken one of those out too.
Yeah. And he's still here. And he's still here, Yeah. I think that the hard part is it's hard to explain to people how much fun it is riding if they've never ridden before. Like
Absolutely.
I really enjoy just the state of mind it puts me in when you're riding.
A couple of very good things about it. No one can bother you.
Yep.
All right. So I am one of those that will not do any Bluetoothing in the helmet and all that stuff. So I'm either on the phone or no phone. So no one will bother you. Number one. And the other thing is total concentration. So you got to pay attention to what you're doing because it's you in the road and whatever metal runs in your way. And generally, once you get going and you're out, and the thoughts are wide open. They don't understand until they've done it. Most people can't get past the fear factor of being afraid to be on a bike. And I still remember my first ride down Poplar, this road here, and someone yelling out the window, "The speed limit's 55," and I was doing 45. Because just getting acclimated to what's going on.
Yeah.
You can feel everything on the road.
Yeah.
Especially when you first start. After a while, it kind of goes away.
There's just something about it. It's hard to explain. You get on that thing and you go for a 30 or 40 minute loop, and man, you can't think about anything else other than
what you're doing, the smell. The biggest thing that always hit me is the smell that you smell.
Yeah.
So and not to be so fruity about it.
Yeah.
But like going down the road and smelling the lilac bushes and all these trees that, like, really, I never even knew that existed. You're in the car, it's closed up, and whatever's blowing on you, you get in a bike, and it's totally, that was the thing that really, especially, I was traveling up to Hickory for about 5 years from Huntersville here on the bike. And so you get up through in there, and there's a lot of stuff happening. And I'll tell you, it's very nice ride.
Yeah. So that's good. That's what I need. I need someone in my corner, because I'll leave and Jess isn't super happy with me when I tell her I'm just going to go and and I've been smart about this.
So just tell her you got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in an hour. Same thing. Women go into the bathroom, they got to do their thing. So hey, got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in an hour.
Yeah, I'll try that. I doubt it will work. But I've made it really. I go out like a Sunday morning, and there's not a lot of people on the road at all. I'll go up to the back way through Highway 3 to Mooresville to Denver, and and it's just nice. It's a great loop, and I might pass. I'll tell her. I said, "Geez, Jess, I might pass 8 cars in an hour." But man, it's just so it's so nice.
So a great loop from here, especially where you live. Jump on 85, hit 485, then hit 16. Right, takes you up that nice. It's kind of wide open, and then hit 3 coming back the other way around and back down.
Okay,
it's nice country. Go over the lake and all that.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
All right, I'll do that because
that's about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. And that's
a little highway, a little country, a little, get a big variety of.
I have to get my Suzuki and meet up with you and Joe.
No.
Say no.
That's the thing is.
Even put a sidecar on for you.
That's what I told him. That's what I told him.
Awesome.
As a little sidecar.
We'll put our geese on.
But here is Jess is looking at me like I'm crazy because I've ripped a tendon off my finger doing jiu-jitsu, and she thinks somehow this is going to be the next thing is going to be the heart, and they're just completely different. They're completely different. They're two independent things. But yeah, and I may have.
I got a very interesting podcast that I will forward to you that just was forwarded to me about the Harley culture and the riding, and it's the whole environment, and it's geared towards the spouse of the rider.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'll forward that to you.
Yeah, I'll take anything I could get. I've taken her one time. I didn't have the thing is, the only way to get more comfortable on a bike is to ride it.
Right,
so
yeah.
that's the one challenge is the beginning. Now I'm probably 7 weeks into it, 8 weeks into it. And I'm slowly now getting way more comfortable. But in the beginning, you're just kind of like, man, I need more time on the road. And I waited a while before I put Jess in the back. But then I was like, man, am I a good person to ride with? Because can she see over me?
Past you.
Is it one of those things?
A sidecar for Jess.
But she didn't enjoy it a ton. She's kind of an anti-risk person, which I totally get.
That's all right.
Anyway,
the wife has been on the bike 3 times in 15 years.
Really?
Yeah, so she's not a big bike person.
Okay.
Either. And she did well. She, I did all the right things. I took her to the ice cream parlor. I did all the right things. Just not her thing.
That's the mistake I'm making.
Yeah.
I got to go to
drop
Andy's ice cream.
Yes.
That's it.
That's what I got to do.
Yep.
Okay. And let her, did she eat the ice cream while she's on?
No. You got to give her a break.
Okay. Give her a break, yeah.
Good. All right. Well, that's cool. Because, that's the thing about Joe. He's got all these cool, he's someone that I look at you and you're obviously not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's cool to see the fitness part of it bleed over into you doing all this traveling. What you went to Miami Beach? What's in Miami Beach?
My niece is down at school down there, so my wife decided we're going to go visit her.
What was that trip like?
We never made it to the college.
Okay.
But we did go to Little Havana, which we took a walking tour. So it was a walking, drinking, eating tour, which turned out to be pretty awesome.
Really?
Yeah. And then, a little South Beach, get the views in.
Yeah.
Just makes me wonder some days, that's all.
But that's the cool thing about, you're doing that, and then you're always. Where's the favorite place to hit up the brewery around here?
Anyone.
Yeah. Is that like is that a weekly thing that you'll get into with Mike?
Well, it's bi-weekly now.
Okay.
But we got to keep our budget correct.
Yeah.
So, but we can always find a new one. There's so many new ones. It's just.
What happened the other weekend? You said you got home, you and your wife sat down, and you were like, "Oh my God, it's 2 a.m. What happened?" Like it was 2 a.m.
Yeah. So we just went to daylight savings that weekend, right? And I remember back in the day, that was great. We got an extra hour.
Yeah.
Right? So went to work, met Mikey and Kathy down at for dinner. Go to some place next to the dinner place. That if we didn't have another engagement after that, we probably would have stayed there all night. Went to Middle C Jazz Club, so anyone to jazz, a great place to go. And then there's a bar right next door, right? So I said, hey, let's check it out. Go in there. We get in the car, and it said to my wife, it's 12:30, 1 o'clock. What happened? And this is before the thing got turned back. We sit home, get on the couch, because we all wound up. I don't know how, right?
Yeah.
And I said, it's 2:00 in the morning. We're just going to, I got to go to work the next day. I said, it's 2:00 in the morning. That guy would get an extra hour of sleep. I mean, time flies.
Man, I tell you, that's why I love Joe.
It's crazy.
It would have been 9:30 at night, and I would have been like, "It's 9:30.
We have got to go."
Yeah. You know, but that's the cool thing. I think, you know, you also take for granted that you've been here for 13 years. I do, because I see you all the time, and I forget how long that you've stuck with this, and I hope people can listen to this and understand that you got to play the long game with this. You can't, someone like you that was 340, 350 isn't going to come to something for 6 months and then be like, okay, I've reached the pinnacle of what I need to do. But I also think that if you would have looked at this and said, well, 13 years from now, I'll be where I'm at. Right. You got to find something in between there that can keep you motivated and keep you on target. Or else, like you said, there were 100 times where you could have been like, well, Doc thinks I need to take some time off. I'm going to take some time off. And you know how you take 4 or 5 months off from the gym, it's almost impossible the older we get to get back into your routine.
So I just want to go back up with step. You're talking about modification. So when I come to the gym, especially in the beginning, I think that's the most intimidating thing to people is they think that they got to do what some of these 20-year-olds are doing, especially if you come in at my age. It ain't happening. I mean, no matter what, it just ain't happening. So you got to figure a middle ground somewhere. So almost every workout, there's a modification to some degree. I think I've done one workout the whole 15 years that was on the board. Yeah. And that's the thing that I think people have to just get past is that you have to fit it to what you're doing. You know what I mean? Or what you're capable of doing. I mean, at some point, can you work up to getting not modified? I'm sure you can. And sometimes you're not gonna, like me. I mean, to this day, when I work out with Phil, it's always some sort of compromise of exactly. I mean, we get the workout done, but he kind of knows some of the physical limitations. You know, I'm not going to jump up and do 100 pull-ups. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got to do something related to a pull-up, but not a real pull-up. So, I mean, that's kind of things that happen that people just have to get past to make it.
Joe did 100 burpees in a workout a couple weeks ago.
Man.
I bet you that was fun.
Oh, it was fun. I made it.
He made it.
Here's the thing: you put a round peg in a square hole. Man, it's not gonna go well. So there are some movements that for you just don't make sense, and the more people get enamored by those movements and try to fit them in, it's just gonna cause problems. So if you can just wrap your head around like you can and say, hey, you know what? I don't need to do a pull up, but let's figure out a different way to do that. And 100 burpees for you. Man, I'll tell you what.
He sent me a workout. He said, you want to try this? I said, Joe, this is a lot of stuff. He's like, we'll try it. So we changed it a little bit, the time, whatever. Ended up being 100 burpees. He got down up and down 100 times.
Yeah.
I was like,
man.
There's
three movements that day. I forgot what the other two were, but I saw it on Facebook. This guy posted something. I said, hey, I shot it to him. I said, let's come on. It seems simple enough.
Yeah,
what the heck,
I love
right?
Oh, gosh.
I love it. Well, listen, man. I other than standing for 12 hours minus 20 minutes a day, I think that's something I wish that we could get to the bottom of, because I think that's just a lot. It's a lot to stand. I think standing is great, but man, I wish you had a chance to sit down for an hour or 2 hours and break that thing up and go 2 hours standing, 1 hour sitting. But. Like
he
like
can
anything.
tell when I've been on a 4-day stretch or 5-day stretch where I'm standing for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I come in here and the hips are just like glue. They just won't move. And I think 40 years of doing that is now
40 years
of standing and jumping off trucks and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
So listen, I hope guys and ladies sit home and listen to this and understand that it doesn't have to be there's no cookie cutter approach to getting into a gym. You find what works for you. You adapt to whatever your schedule allows you to do, whatever the movements allow you to do. And it's just doing something. Doing something is 10 times better than the alternative of taking a shot and, taking opioids for the rest of your life.
Right, yep.
because Joe's not going to prescribe. He's not going to give you a prescription. When Philip goes in there to get his Vicodin for his little tummy ache after he has his raw liver, Joe's not giving him anything.
Actually, Joe's doing that with us.
I mean, the opioid crisis, I'm actually doing a class on the opioid crisis now. It is just out of control.
Really?
And it all starts innocently, small injury, some pills for a couple of days, renew the prescription for a couple more days. Third prescription, you're on the start to being addicted. I mean, it
happens that fast.
That fast. And that's the problem. People just don't understand it, how fast it happens. And when you go to the pharmacy and they're giving you a hard time about it, this is why they're giving you a hard time, is to keep you from having to have a lifetime of this stuff. And it's just the downward spiral. It's very sad.
Man. And you've seen this change. You've seen this progression over the last couple of years.
Unfortunately, I've seen patients get addicted. I mean, there's no doubt about it in my lifetime. I mean, it's just kind of scary what these doctors are doing. The easy way out, and for the doctor, it's the way that they're approaching it. But a lot more doctors are getting on board now and saying, no, go here, go to the gym, do something else.
Yeah.
Try to do physical therapy. Most people laugh at physical therapy, but it works.
Yeah.
And that's really what the gym is for me. It's physical and mental
therapy too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, if you're around here and you see Joe in the gym, you make sure you stop by and say hey, and then we'll follow up with Joe after we do 12 ounces of raw liver here in about 2 weeks, and we'll get Joe's take.
Does he at least get to blanch it? Like fry it in the pan, like.
This is out of the pack.
No, this will be right out of the old.
Right out of the pack.
I think what we're gonna do is we'll make sure it's thawed out so that the blood's still in the bottom, and then he'll blanch it in a little bit of blood on both sides, and then down the hatch. So we're looking forward to that.
It's kind of like those pills the other day with the
with Nate. Yeah. So
you gotta start small. You should have said, "Hey, we're gonna give you some salami, pepperoni, something like that,"
and then come out with the liver.
Drop the liver right in there.
This is why he's a front runner for the new host. I love it. I love it.
Great,
guys. Thanks for listening, Joe. Thanks for coming on here.
Thanks
Until next time, this is the Built by Vitality podcast.